What is going on?
Okay. And so here we go. We'll let them all in. Okay. So as we start getting set up here today, I want to welcome you to Gov Directions and to our Gov School Series. And we'll get started here in just 1 or 2 more minutes, give everybody an opportunity to get into the room. And we have others that will checking us out live on YouTube. Let's see here. We have with us today Cynthia Harper. Dr. Cynthia Harper is going to be leading us, and I'll start welcoming her to our session as well. How are you doing today, Cynthia?
I am wonderful, Mark. How are you?
Great, everything's great. It's actually a great new year so far. Here I'm actually in the office for the first time this new year, and so I'm looking forward to having a productive 2022. How about you?
I am too, Mark. I'm going to take each moment, each day as it comes, try to be careful, keep mask up. I tell you, keep the pressures down because the pressures can get really heavy, but keep it moving forward in the positive things because, you know, we got a lot to do and a lot to be grateful for.
We certainly do. You can see I've got my mask here too. So I've upgraded a little bit too.
I can assist them and tell them whether, you know, they.
So if you are coming online, just remember to maintain your mute status.
Well, I can't take it on. It's too much. I'm like, what am I getting out of this shit?
Okay, got it.
Not that I don't mind helping people, but I find myself helping people when they help me. So, all right, dude.
I'm going through. I'm just going to make sure everyone's mute status is on. It does something for the background. If you do have a question, though, we do like to have questions during our session. So feel free to raise your hand, technically speaking, and then we'll call on you and have it in an organized fashion so that we can give everybody an opportunity to join us. Gov School is a special series of Gov Directions, and we have a number of different sessions that we offer throughout the year. And we can see here that Cynthia has brought up her capability statement presentation, and we want to turn everything over to her, let her get started, and I'll work in the background as we go along. But we are certainly glad you're here today. This is live on YouTube. It is recorded, so you can check it out just a little bit later. But I'd like to make sure you're aware that the recording captures. And so I'm hearing to make sure everybody can hear me okay. But we'll go on there as well. I'm going to change my volume a little bit, but making sure that anything that you do speak about in the class, it is recorded, so you should maintain privacy. In addition, if you have any questions amongst each other, we typically do not contact you directly. If you have a question of us, you can type it in the chat room, and I will try to keep those organized as we go along and answer those questions. But I always encourage you to tell us a little bit about your company in the chat. If you have a capability statement, drop it in there. Go ahead and drop ours in. Cynthia helped us prepare one here at Gov Directions, and as we get started, how are you doing, Cynthia? You ready?
We are ready. Trying to get this lighting right. It's better there. So, Mark, let's do something fun. Whoever can give us a good New Year's resolution, we'll give him a cup of coffee. How's that, Mark?
That's fine. We'll send him a coffee card.
We'll send him a coffee card. There you go. Absolutely. So I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of Gov Directions. My name is Dr. Cynthia Harper, and I'm with C. Harper Enterprises Services. I'm so excited to chat with you all today. As we start this new year, it is a great year for government contracts. It's a great year for you to pitch your net. And so I've got to ask you a question, and feel free to use our chat room to answer questions. But how many of you would like to create an award-winning capability statement? And you can just put in the chat room yay or nay, and why you would like to win. Why is it relevant? There you go. She raised her hand. Why is it relevant that you would win this, that you would have an award-winning capability statement? And ask yourself this question: if you had an award-winning capability statement, how would you market it? What would be important to you? How would you actually market it? So again, welcome on behalf of GovDirections. I'm Dr. Cynthia Harper, and we're going to talk briefly here about creating an award-winning capability statement for 2020. There were great plans ahead of all of us, and we want to be a part of the winning team. So my question to you is, what is a capability statement? You know, actually, it's a factual representation of your company, and it focuses on the need of the agency, not necessarily exactly everything that you have to offer. Yeah, that's important, but it focuses on the need of the agency. It also provides real solutions. It's your short, precise, precisioned looking company bio. It's the resume for your business. And that's something we have to keep in mind. It's the, excuse me, I didn't mean to go there. It's the resume for your business. It is what represents you in the government sector. It's truly a living document. And keep in mind, it used to be a time where only government contractors were creating a capability statement. But today, your competition are major corporations, because everyone is doing business in the federal space. Mark, can you speak to that? That is no longer just for people who are registered in the federal market, but major companies as well. Mark, you're muted, Mark.
Get back over here. I am. Yeah, I am muted there. I have to get organized here. Small businesses are winning contracts, but just as important, what you see is the large companies you really are competing against every day. They're aggressively pursuing. And one of the reasons why is because this is the largest spending period in American history. This 2022, the governments are flush with opportunities. State governments record amounts of revenue that they're going to be purchasing, and to some of them really have sort of pent up demand on projects. You know, they've been caught up with COVID, and COVID is still with us, as we know, unfortunately. But they also have all these other projects that they've been looking to push forward, and so you're seeing those come about as well. And so every company at every different level you're competing against these days.
Every level, and it's the way to go right now. So what it's not, let's talk about what it's not. Have you ever asked yourself, what is a capability statement not? You know, sometimes we come together with these and we love to do fancy brochures and these incredible 10-page marketing packages, but that's not what they're looking for in terms of a government capability statement. It's not a flyer coupon where you get a discount, buy one, get the next one off. It's not a great PowerPoint presentation, though you will need one of those when you provide capability briefing. It's not a one-size-fit-all deal. Truly, I mean, it's not this pretty colorful thing. That's just not what it is. It is something that represents your company. I'm keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. It represents your company, but it is designed. It is designed for your company to shine with the federal government. So it's not this fancy, pretty thing that we do when we make major presentations, or something that we do from a whiteboard, or something we send out to impress people. What it is it is your identifier, your company information that the government understands, that they know that once you've created such an incredible document, you understand what they're looking for. And this is what makes why do you need a capability statement so important? When they read your capability statement, there is a great understanding that you understand the language. There is certain lingo in every environment that we must be aware of. We must understand that the government has language that's in-house to the government. And in order for us to be successful to reach them, that language is actually written on the capability statement. Words and things such as procurement. They understand that you understand that you're procuring a contract. Things such as partnering and teaming. They understand that you've been there. It's a certain language that the government uses. And the more you spend time in the government market, you will understand the language that they use. What's used for marketing your company to government buyers is different than what you would use to market just to business. It's just a little different. Mark, speak about the government language and why it's so important to understand the lingo.
Well, I think that's a lot of times that's self-explanatory. It's like whenever somebody comes to talk to you about, putting a new roof on your house, you want them to understand what asphalt is and what tiles are and so forth. So you want to be comfortable with that company, and governments want to see the same thing. They want to know that you understand what an RFP is, for example. What, you've got this keyword cloud here, and I really like to use keyword clouds. And frankly, sometimes you can even take a RFP that you got and drop it into a keyword cloud production system, when you can find these on the internet and see the words that government's using and try to repeat some of those words, not verbatim, but the same terminology. I can remember one time when I first started my first job, I think now it's been 30 years ago now, but I sat at the table, I didn't understand anything. And I started writing down notes about the various words. And on my way home, I stopped by, back then we had bookstores, and I stopped by the bookstore and picked up a dictionary for financial terms, so that I would come across as someone who knew what I was talking about. And they don't expect you to be an expert, but they do expect you to be able to speak some of the simple language.
Speak some of the simple language. Absolutely. It's so important. What are the benefits of a capability statement? Well, it opens the doors for things to move forward. They understand that once they've read your capability, that it's set up where they can actually just get a very quick glance and a good read. They understand that it's going to open the door for you. It creates the start to building a relationship. Even if they're not using you at the moment, truly, it is a document that they share with other contracting officers. It is a document that they share with other large companies or smaller companies in which you can partner with. It speaks their languages. It addresses the specific needs for the buyer. And one of the things I really like that it does is it entices agency buyers to consider you for partnering deals, for other deals that's coming down the line. You might not be suitable for what they're looking for at the moment. However, they might keep your capability statement for something in the future. So it really leads to more contracts. Those are the benefits, because not having a government capability statement is very unwise. So let's talk about bad or no capability statement. You're really probably not considered unless you've had 20 years in the business. They know you by name. Well, at that point, you probably don't need one. But if you're just getting started, the first 3 to 5 years, it's really important that you have a capability statement, because if you don't, the door can slam on you. You see those doors? It's not like it's not like what's behind door number 2, door number 1. No, the doors don't even open for you. If you don't have one, it'll prove to them that you just don't understand the federal space. The federal space is different than the corporate space. Now, both of them are providing a service, but we know in the government market, they do things a little different. There's a lot of paperwork driven. It's a lot of partnering. It's a lot of deadlines and times to be made, which is a little different. And without having one, you make yourself look risky or weak. And that's what we don't want to do. We're going into 2022, and we want to show that we're credible. We want to make a good impression with a solid capability statement. And you win less or even no contracts if you don't have one. So we don't want to do a guessing door thing. We want to know that when you go into an industry group, when you're part of a team, you walk in the door with your capability statement.
There's 2 things you mentioned there, Cynthia, I wanted to kind of echo on. One, on the slide before, you actually said something about, having someone put you on file. I actually got a call this week from someone I haven't talked to in 3.5 years. I had given them our capability statement back then to do a project on, I do cost analysis. And lo and behold, they still had that statement. They picked it up, said, we remember you said you did this and we wanted you to give us a quote. And I just inked the deal this afternoon to do that, to do a project for them. And something I haven't even really thought about in 3.5 years. And the other thing on that one slide with the color of those doors, I really like the way that stands out. And I hope you're going to talk to them about how to really make their
Absolutely.
statement stand out. But there you are, and you got 4 different doors, 4 different looks, and I think that's a very important how you make sure your capability statement really stands out.
Absolutely. Because, and speaking of standing out, Mark, we have to understand that there might be 250 capability statements in for one procurement deal. And so if yours stand out and they put it in a pile, or let's revisit it, it makes a lasting impression. And that's what we try to do when we create a capability statement. Me and my partner, we go in and we make sure that the color schemes are right. We make sure that the logos are placed in the right place. We make sure that you look good so that when they look at your capability statement, they feel secure that, okay, this person has an understanding of what we're looking for. It's attractive. You've got to be different. What makes you different in your capability statement? So it's really important that you allow the right company, the right people. And I'm not necessarily saying that C. Harper is the only company, because there are a lot of great companies who develop capability statements, but make sure that it is something that will catch the eye of the contracting officers, the program managers, and even other teaming partners. Let's talk about, there are different versions of a capability statement. Oftentimes when we're working in the federal space, and I really do like when they do RFIs, which is a request for information. The RFI is always important because it actually allows you to kind of detail and what they're looking for. And they're just asking for information. Sometimes you can create a capability statement where you just fulfill the information that they're looking for. And all that requires is just a little tweaking. You go in, you change this, you change that. Because what you want to do, again, is present yourself as what the agency needs. You want them to identify you as a company that can fulfill what they want. There's also RFPs, as a request for proposal, where you have to do the full detailed proposal. There is sources sought. So there are many different ways, but there are sometimes when we do have to create, and I prefer you to have one capability statement. However, that one can be tweaked based upon what a company is looking for. Mark, have you seen different kinds of requests for information that would make someone stand out different, or give them
definitely? And I also mentioned here sources sought, but that's another word that you'd find really at the federal level. But request for information, just in general, there's a this is whenever a procurement officer, and you kind of, the last thing you want to do is expect them to know everything, because they don't. They're professionals. What they know how to do is to make sure you follow the rules of that government they're working for. But they're not an expert in your business. They're not a subject matter expert in a particular area. So they frequently will go out with a request for information in just about every field, and ask for those who do this, to provide this service, especially in an agile environment where they need to be more flexible in how they approach something, because everything's changing, more technology, the different types, especially with COVID now, in different ways you're making presentation. I mean, we used to go on location for all our projects. Now everything is moved to Zoom. So they need to make sure in that RFI that they have the right request. And so they'll ask me as a professional what they should be looking for. And that's why having that capability statement speak to your subject matter expertise is so important to them.
And back to what you were saying about they're not subject matter expertise. They're not. I've noticed lately that they've hired a lot of consultants who are filling in, because so much growth. They're bringing in teams of people to kind of help just do administrative things that they've appointed to looking at capability statements, who really are not professionals in that area. So it is good that you have as much as you can detailed, because you're right, Mark, it's not necessarily the persons that it used to be anymore.
That's right. That's right.
So this is talking about this capability statement version. This is just a continuation. They might say, can you send me a capability statement in some form or another? Well, this could be a high level. This could be broad in nature, with multiple service areas. It can have many industry NACE codes. It can be for general marketing purposes. Specific version, you could narrow that down to address just a specific agency, to use the specific need. And the good thing about all of this information everything they're looking for is generally listed in the RFI, the RFP, or the RFQ. So it's not like they're hiding the data from you. That's what I do like about them. So you can tweak accordingly. So there could be a targeted capability statement, could be a general capability, or source to start. Whatever they're looking for, the information is always very easy to find. And that's what I like about what at Gov Directions, when you receive different information on what's going on in the marketplace, all that information has been aggregated for you to understand what that client is looking for. So know that you can tweak it. Know that there are different versions. You can be targeted, general, or source to start capability statement.
And I can't agree with that more either, anymore either, because oftentimes I'll get there's really different areas that I work in. One is indirect cost analysis. The other is in classification studies for human resource. Those are really two different fields. I don't need to be sending the HR director my expertise in indirect costs. That's the one I want to send to the finance director. And so I can keep that separate. And at the same time, though, I might have a more general one and not talk just about that actual individual type project, but more about here's my background, here's my knowledge, here's why you would want to hire a company like mine or individual like myself, and have them have those different ones that I might give to different types of individuals at different types of the year even. So it's having those ready to go are important, especially when you first start out. I think it can be more general, and then you can find yourself getting to more specifics in the projects that you're targeting. I may even have a different capability statement right now, which I do for governments that are smaller in size. And so I'd send that to a government so they're not going to really care if I ever work with the city of Atlanta or the city of New York. They want to make sure that I'm working with a city their size and that I've got that expertise specifically for them. And whenever you get to a point when you have 300, 400 different clients across the United States, that's important that you're able to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me say this to you. A capability statement is a conglomerate of it's a collective, let me say that, a collective of a lot of codes. It's important that your codes stand out on your CAPE statement. Your NACE codes, your PSC codes, your SIC codes, your NIGP codes, all of those codes are so specific. Your CAGE code, your DUNS number, all of those are identifiers. Your certifications, those are codes as well. Your contract vehicles, everything, the government is acronymed out. They are already there. They've created the acronym library. The acronym Bible comes from the federal space. So your codes are so important. And oftentimes when I'm working with clients, especially through Gov Directions, we send out, Gov Directions has created a really good link for you to aggregate all the data. People don't have enough codes listed, which doesn't give them fair representation in the federal space. Mark, talk about some of the codes, in particular what's happening with the DUNS number now.
Sure. So, code, I'm not always the biggest fan of codes, because the one reason is because you've got to be on the same wavelength. And so if you only choose one, oftentimes you're not. Okay. So it's like, you just don't want to have that happen. So you want to look at all the different NAICS codes to make sure there's multiple ones that you've got them all covered. But like the DUNS number, and the government's always changing, and you have to understand that. But they're moving to a unique identifier number now, and so that's coming up. It's going to replace it, but it's not there yet. It's been going on now for 2 years, so you really have to have both of those there, and that actually sends a signal that I know what's happening. I'm keeping up, and that's important as well. And then, of course, your CAGE code when you're working with Department of Defense and others. But I think Cynthia has talked about some of these here, but like the NAICS code primarily used at the federal level, the NIGP commodity codes is typically used at the state and local government level. And even if you're focusing in California or Texas, sometimes they have their own coding systems. And so it's important that you familiarize yourself with that. And if you don't, we have classes and we have information online to help you with that if you need that.
Yeah, that's the joy of working with Gov Directions. They train, they're training, that's what they are, that's what we provide. So let's talk about the 6 C's of the capability statement. We talk about the, your codes, your core competencies, the company data, the corporate and expertise. All of these things separate you from everyone else. You need to understand, and that's why we created this really great link for you to make sure that everything is succinct with your codes, that you understand the core competencies. What are the things that you're core about? We're not looking for something in a great paragraph, but something that gives a bulleted look where they can glance and see what is your core. And that coincides with your NACE codes. What is your company data? What is the history and that kind of thing? The experience. What differentiates you? What are you different? Why are you different than someone else? Well, it could be because you have a certain certification and you work with this project and completed it in a timely fashion. Those things need to be listed. And so on each capability statement, there are certain codes that are set up so you can identify things that make you stand out, and definitely your contact information. So your core competencies, wow. What is the core? You know, when you work out, you talk about your center. What is the core? You know, what are the service and the products that you offer? Make sure that it's bulleted so that no one has to look for it too long. They don't have a lot of time to look for too much. Make sure that the sentences are fragmented. It's not a very long narrative. You know, select your key offerings. And it's important to relate your offerings to meet again, I can't say this enough, the offerings of the needs of the agency. Mark, you want to say anything about the core competency and how relevant they are?
I think you've covered it very well, but you know, of course, it is the most important part of the capability statement, if you ask me. But I would just like to lead into the fact that you keep talking about a form, and you know, one of the questions we really get here at GovDirections is, how do I get started with one of these? And so as we're stepping in through that, we actually guide you through the process, and here's the information you need, and you'll find it a lot easier than just, you know, opening that blank sheet of paper and doing it yourself. And your team really does pull that together and making sure that those sentence fragments don't exist, and that you don't have the period in the wrong spot, and then, you know, and so on. And that's important, and that's helpful. And just, you know, one sentence fragment can really change the outlook from a procurement officer whenever they pick it up your document, and you don't want to have that happen. It can distract from you and your core competency, and it just calls it into question. So when I see that frequently with this misspelled word, there's this or that, and you don't want to have that happen. But as you said, the core competency, getting that paragraph about who you are in concrete is very important.
Very important. Let's talk about your company data. No one knows your company data better than yourself. You know, I mean, if we're going to sell a project and I have my project versus yours, I'm going to be able to sell mine better than yours because I know it. Well, you should understand the history that they're looking for. You know the history, the year that it was founded, the size of the firm, and things of that nature. It's very important that you have those things listed. The size of the firm, if you're debt free, if you're in a warehouse, shipping and receiving, et cetera, all those things are very important. So make sure that you understand your core data, where you started, where you're going, and what you're currently doing up to now. So important.
And I think you've heard me talk sometimes about the ABCs, especially when I'm actually teaching my classes. I always talk about, you know, accuracy, brevity, clarity. That is the three ABCs of technical writing, and how so important it is, especially the accuracy. Because when they check one thing that doesn't reflect the truth, then you're basically not included for a very long time. It's hard to overcome that.
Yeah, and your capability statement, like your corporate expertise and differentiators, this is a part of your digital footprint. So as Mark said about accuracy, make sure that your accuracy on the web page is currently updated and it matches exactly that on your capability statement. Make sure that if you have bonding capabilities, financial stability, all those things, if you're ISO, make sure those things are listed on both places so that when they check, even on LinkedIn, actually social media plays a major role in your capability as well. All of these are part of your digital footprint. They're very, very important, very important. And then your clients and your customers. People tend to think, well, I've never done this in the government space. If you have provided this service, leverage that experience, business to business, business to customer, whoever you have used that past experience with, it's very important. It does not have to be with a said agency or a major corporation. It could be with another small business. As long as you can perform the duties and responsibilities, that's what they're looking for. How did you complete the project? You know, and it's good. If you have large clients, then select the large clients. That's important as well. It's very important. But what's important is the data is listed. And then the last thing I want to remind you, because I know we're working on a time here, is your contact information. Friends, I can't tell you enough to not to have, you know, make sure you have the company name and logo, the points of contact, make sure that that's correct, the address, and don't use a post office box. And now we're at a place where you can get a post office box that's a complete mailing address at any of the major UPS, Federal Express, and all these different companies. Make sure the phone, the fax, the web, the email address, and for God's sake, make sure your email address is professional. It doesn't say something like sexymama@gmail.com. The government's going to be like, okay. So we want to make sure that people can get in touch with you. And the way they can identify you and reach you is everything is currently updated, because things change. Managers change, people change, we all change. So it's relevant that you update your information as often as you possibly can. Mark, we got quite a few questions in the chat. Let's see what we can answer here.
I'll see those. And if you want to, you can drop off your share and I'll start showing some of the examples of some of that we've done in the past. I've pulled them up today and we can do that. Okay, and let me see here.
How is the sound? I think someone said they were having a little trouble with the sound. Did the sound get any better?
I guess it did. I actually dropped off my other microphone that you saw, so I'm talking directly into.
Okay, sound did get better. Okay, it's better now.
That helped out a little bit.
Okay.
And so, you know, the other question I think on here, one of the questions was specifically about, you know, how often does government work with newer companies? You know, I'll take the first stab of that. First, this, you know, to answer partly of that question is, this coming year, governments are spending more than they've ever spent before. They have more opportunities and they don't have as many companies. So if you're a new company and you're just starting up, this is the time to really get that experience. They're not going to be as concerned about that tenure, but you need to have to, and maybe you can talk to them how they can tie that tenure in different ways if they have more private sector experience. And I'm going to bounce around and show them what you've worked on in the past here.
Yep. So there are so many, I mean, literally, these are some of the capability statements that we've actually created with GovDirections as a partner. These are projects and things that they've done, they've completed. And a lot of these were done in the private sector, but now these same projects are winning government contracts. If you see, they've listed the past performance where someone can just take a quick glance at it. So all you need to do is combine what you've already done. You know this, have your confidence level. I think sometimes we all lack confidence in what we've done, but actually this is the time now where the contracts are available for us to not lack confidence, but to be confident in who you are as a government contractor. You are the subject matter expert. They're looking for you.
Let me see if I have. We also dropped in a form that if you do have an interest in getting potentially a session to just one-on-one to talk about the capability statement with Cynthia, we will set that up for you. And here we go. I'm still letting people in the room, but you can have that set up, and you can choose who you. When we first started the day, we said we'll give out a coffee card to someone. I think that was had the New Year's, and that was maybe Sharon Castillo had the first one. Maybe is that the one you see?
Yeah,
so.
She says don't
So
speak
we'll
about it.
Coffee card to her.
Yeah, be about it.
Yeah. How about questions? You got questions you can ask on a live or in chat. Just if you have live, just unmute yourself and raise your hand, and then we'll call on you. And if you have any questions, now is the time to do that. So Sharon.
Hi there, Mark and Cynthia. Thank you so much for taking the time. So what I'm looking at as Mark is scrolling through several of these is the presentation of it, a capability statement, because I guess before this moment, I was just thinking a Word document. But the way this looks is presented almost flyer fashion somewhat, but with the necessary information. So is that what you were talking about as far as standing out? Because I see colors and photos, et cetera, but it is like a quick snippet, so to speak. But I was thinking statement made me just think words. So I guess I was going in the wrong direction with that. So I'm going to ask you to speak to that.
Absolutely. Mark, can you take it back to the one that you would, even this one is fine as well. You had the Orlando wedding up there. And the reason I wanted to show that one, because it's written in a lot of, so what you see is a lot of black and white there. But notice the good looking pictures to the right, which explains what they do. Look at the executive summary, how neatly it's put in place for a company to read over. Their past, because they have so much, I remember this company well, they're such an awesome company. They have so much past performance, but it's listed, Walt Disney, Orlando Magic. So no, we cannot use a Word document. We use a one-page document. We create it in a certain form. And actually my partner is on the line who does a lot of the creativity. And we set it up where they can read it. And even if you notice at the bottom, her NACE codes on this company, they have highlighted the NACE codes. Their main NACE code is, what is that? 532289. I think that's what it is. You get old, the vision changed, but it's all good. But you see how we highlighted the prominent NACE code for this company? So no, it's not just a Word document. It is a document. And although this one doesn't have as many colors as others, it's very clean, very sophisticated, and will always catch someone's eyes, even if it's not the services they want. They will remember Orlando Wedding and Party Rentals because it's so good looking. And then after that, I think he had RVCB listed. That's, for that industry, it is a perfect looking capability statement. The colors match what they do. We use your logo, your color scheme. We try to take your digital footprint, place it in a capability statement, and then you ask, well, where would I use this? You'd use it at industry days. You'll use it at meetings with contracting officers, program managers. Someone says, is it a good idea to place a capability statement on LinkedIn? Yes, you can have a downloadable link on LinkedIn, which is incredible. Absolutely. Because you never know if a contracting officer or a potential partner is on LinkedIn looking for a skill set that you might offer. Absolutely. It is your business profile. Take advantage of it and use it wherever you need to, that you can draw a crowd to.
And one thing I would add to that is it certainly is not a bad idea to have everything in just written format as well. So have a document in a Google Drive that you can just click and paste from very quickly, because occasionally a government's going to ask you for parts of this, and they may not want the entire capability statement, or they may give you a form that they want you to provide the information back to them. They'll have a proposed format that they want you to use. Now, so you'll have it available in that way. But a document like this, I would carry to a pre-proposal meeting, or I'd carry to an industry day. I was always known as the guy who kind of stuck my capability statement on the table. Just leave a couple laying around, and people will future clients will pick them up, and then they'll remember you. And having that, and I know you said your partner was online, but excellent job in graphics, and having a graphic designer take a look at this. This is one reason why we refer out to, we don't actually do these at Gov Directions, but we refer out to Cynthia when we have these type of documents need to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're real excited. We love to see the finished product because it speaks for itself, that you know what you're doing. Here's another one, Nav Radiance. I remember meeting with them specifically. You notice they've got their certification, their VSOB, Veteran-Owned Small Business. Those certifications are very important. They're hub zoned. And then they have a Texas certification in there. If you notice, those things really stand out for them. They've taken the time to differentiate themselves and get the certifications in certain, to acquire a hub zone certification, it requires you to be specific of an area you're listed in, hiring and maintaining so many associates. They have become specific in what they've done with this certification. The VSOB, the veteran, there's a special market for veterans. So they're going to stand out. And then when they look at their past performance, the work that they've done. So no, yeah, these are some of the reasons. And look how you can easily find their point of contact, their email address, their phone numbers, you know.
Yeah, one thing I
Yes,
like
sir.
about this particular one, Cynthia, is that if you watch me as I hover over this document, because it's online, maybe I've downloaded it, and this is a PDF that I have on my desktop, and an individual government may be doing the exact same thing, a procurement officer, but that's a hyperlink that I can click on, and then I'm going to be taking you. Unfortunately, this one, because of it's a little bit older, but they needed to have a secure socket layer, and I run into an issue with it. So you want to make sure you have a secure especially for government these days. And so this is an older one. I'm certain they've updated it, but you want to make sure that's HTTPS, because they like this one here may not let me get through. It could potentially also be the copy of the actual contract and how they're given some value there for the individual company for a government who would understand that. If they're looking at printer installation, they would know what that means. I might even take this and then link to the actual award that was made on the internet. Or if I have a video that I might have on my website, I might link to that video and talk about my product, or even a demonstration of my product. What you're doing is you're saving a lot of time for those government procurement officers who you know, our time is so valuable. And you know, if I had a sample RFP that would fit my company's specs for printer installation, I might even have here see a sample RFP, and so that they could come and they could take that, and when they write that RFP, it's going to look and feel like my document. So I'm going to have a higher success of or chance of opportunity to win that. And it's certainly permissible. They're looking for, you know, shortcuts the best as possible, but you know, they might that's once again why it's important to be accurate, brief, and clear. ABCs.
Mm-hmm. I like that, Mark. I like you pointed out that hyperlinking things, and this is something we're going to really make a pinpoint decision on in this new season. We want to make it where you can win. So it is important to have everything where just on Mark's desk, he's clicking on it, and in the places that it's linked, he can literally just click the link and find out more about this company or send them an email. That's really important.
And I'm seeing some other more direct questions, and I'll give some generic answers to these. But we do have a micro consultants series to work with Dr. Harper on a project like this. It's normally a $400 rate to get one prepared. GovDirections is willing to subsidize or discount that for our members. We just give us a call. We can help negotiate that rate with down a little bit. We want you to be successful. We know that. In fact, with any annual subscription, we'll include it at no charge, and we just cover the cost, because we know if you step forward and you get a document like this, then you're going to win more contracts. And so that's we don't really nickel and dime everyone. So if you have a question, just give us a call. We'll help you. If there's a cost, we'll let you know. And what that is, we're straight up with our pricing structure. Very simple. Okay. Somebody else asked about LinkedIn. Definitely make sure it's on LinkedIn. Making sure it's you know, even if you have a Twitter account, even having a link to it. Make it easy for individuals to get to your capability statement. They're looking for those procurement officers when they're looking to build a marketplace. They're Googling you. They're trying to find you. They're looking in databases. We have about 80% of our listings are posted directly by our government because we have that match system. In fact, this past year, I don't know if I told you this, Cynthia, but we matched up over 400 million transactions. That is
wow, that's awesome.
A bid to an individual client, and it's just an algorithm, of course. But it's like when you start talking about those numbers, it's like wow, because it's about making sure you find the right match, and this is a pinpointing that opportunity and getting to that. So we've taken up a lot of. How about any more final questions here? I'm gonna give last call for questions. I dropped in that that document for you to fill out. I'm gonna put it here one more time. If you want to have someone contact you, they will. It's just simple, just a collection of data. We don't sell your data at all, period. We will share it with Dr. Harper, and she can give you a call. Or you can call in directly, talk with Dale or myself or anybody else who answers the phone, Mike and others, and we'll be glad to help you out with connecting with the right individual on the capability statement. But I thank you for joining us today.
Mark,
Cynthia,
I think CWIT has a question. to every,
Okay.
yes,
Is that Chad?
Chad?
No? See what? Question? Unmute yourself.
Are you there, Chad? Okay. Are there
Are
any
there any-
agencies you can refer me to so I can perform market research?
Not sure if I fully understand that
Yeah.
question, but if you want to do what I will share with you as a sample, as it tries to make sure we understand it. But if you're looking to know kind of what pricing structure should be at Gov Directions, we do have a lot of different locations of information. One is you can actually just type in a keyword, and if there's a recent bid award in the last 30 days, it will show up for you. Okay, it'll have in front of the word award. In addition, we have a who's winning section to allow you to do market research. And you can come here and you can see that we have over on the side various categories here, the product, and you can look at the different types of product. So if you look at hotel lodging, for example, it'll pull in, give you some recent awards, pricing structure, for which department, how to find that on the link. Unfortunately, I've got to change these link. Beta.sam is no longer the right domain name. It's always .sam.gov now. So you strip out the beta part. We'll have somebody go through and fix those. But they just changed that recently. And so just to remember that. But you can come here, you can see those contracts. You can zero in on particular parts of the country. You're going to go in Pennsylvania, there's another hotel services. And here it's Hoptail services, but it's the same thing. A lot of times you can see these words presented in different ways. So be careful. There we go in Jacksonville. So it's easy enough to move around. Okay. In addition, if you want to do market research, you can go to outside Gov Directions. You can go to usaspending.gov. This is a database that's available to you. One of the best in the world, I think. It's easy to use. It's managed by the government. And look at that number, just keeps going up. My goodness gracious. $3.46 trillion they've spent already on COVID. So they let you know that they're spending a lot of money. All of these individual contracts and purchase orders are here. You can go in here and just do a simple keyword search. And let's see how much comes up if I do COVID. I don't know why we got talking about such a depressing topic today, but maybe I can just do party rental. But you can go in there and see how easy it is to use, okay? And have it for you, and they'll show you the individual contracts, and you bounce around. That's a really good, easy way to do market research, okay? And you may also, if you're looking at seeing your competition, the same way, you come up, it'll show you the recipient's name, and then you can click on the recipient name, and you can see all your competition, okay? And you'll see subcontracts the same way. It's really easy to use. It's freely available to you. Don't go out and spend a lot of money on competitive research. That's not necessary. And I'm getting another question about the cost. Gov advice is where we provide access to some of the consulting, micro consulting is what we call it. Capability statement is front and center. That's the number one request we get. You can click here, purchase now, and you'll see it's $400. And as I mentioned, if you give us a call, we'll give you a slight discount on that and get about 10% off rate for you. Just give Dale a call and she can take care of that. Or we'll include it with any annual subscription. Okay. Any more questions?
Hi, Mark. This is Seawit. Just wanted to compound on the question I asked about agencies you can refer me to so I can perform some market research. I'm still a relatively new company, and I'm sure there's certain things I can or cannot do with the government. I'm actually in the transportation industry. I am a owner operator, plus I am also a licensed freight broker. So with all that being said, just basically looking for some avenues of approach where I can actually find some shippers and then maybe intermingle with shippers who are already engaged with the government, whether it be local, state, or federal. So I can try to basically communicate with them and let them know what services I can offer them, and try to help identify their pain points before I reach out and just let them know, hey, I can be helpful in this manner.
Well, sure. That's a great way to do that. Different ways to use information on our website. One is to look for the active RFPs. And just to remember, all the listings at Gov Directions are active. They're not speculative by any sense. These are competitive requests. And you can go to, your traditional methods, but you can also come to our RFP categories, which is where I went here at the very top of our page. RFP categories, and you'll see all those within an industry. And here we'll tell you whether or not state and local or federal, or what we call our business intelligence, which is, these are projects we know are coming, just not out yet. And so you can go in and you can actually, drop in and then see those individual bids. And let's see here. And you're able to see within that, by popping into the actual government, you can see individuals, companies that might be bidding on that as well. And that's just a good way to, meet others. Be honest with you, at this point though, they're moving quickly, so they're about ready to go. So what I do sometimes is I take some of these that are active, and then I'll call a company that is listed for future reference and say, I see you're in this business. Here's who I am. Here's my capability statement. Next time you bid, consider me as potentially as a sub or a partner or teaming individual in some way. Danielle Miller does a great session with us on teaming, and that's on our website as well. But you can come in and you can see those very quickly. The other way is just to go in and very quickly do by keyword search. And maybe I'll just see if I do. Let me just try transportation. Some of these words are so big that it might be too much. Let me just do shipping. Okay, this is a keyword. I can get very specific because it's a Boolean search technique, but for purposes of this demonstration, I want to give you a very broad word, and shipping is going to be one that could be included in a lot of different listings. And so it is some 346. But what you'll find here, as I look through here, are different listings, and you're going to see some of these where they're going to be awards. Okay, and let's see how long it takes me to find one, because I'm on the spot now. Let's see here, award. And whenever I find that, here they go. And if I click through, at this point, I'm going to see some details related to that. Look at there, they got the right domain name, sam.gov. That's great. Okay, I can actually map it, see where it's at. Go in here, and occasionally it's going to be right there up front and center. This one's actually with the Defense Logistics Agency. And so you have to actually step into the actual document to get that. But that detail is going to be there and who won that contract. Okay, and they're going to tell you how much. And some of the larger ones, I might even say, on this project, I can serve as a sub. Won't you consider me? Especially if I've got some of these other designations like small business, woman-owned business, service disabled. These are ones they're really looking for to help. There's wooden shipping containers. Let's see if this was also Department of Defense. Defense requires sometimes you step through, but no, here it is. Rollins Moving and Storage is winning $428,000 contract. Okay, I can, in the documents that are here, I'm gonna be able to pull up who won that, what their phone number is, all the information. If I can't find it right away, I can go to usaspending.gov and drop it in. Or I can go to also the SBA website. Okay, here's Rollins. Let's see if I can find Rollins here. I should have put it in quotes. Let's see here, maybe go back. Okay, and it's going to give me some details related to that came up. And so whenever I pull in there, and maybe not this particular one, and give me the address, phone number, all that data is going to be there. It's easy enough to use. So you'll go into that. Okay. Any additional questions?
Thank you, Mark. That was great.
You're welcome. I know I'm bouncing around. These videos at GovDirection, where we actually are doing this one live, but you can go to your member account, okay? And we focus in on these and spend 30 minutes just on usaspending.gov for one of those. You can go to your member home, and then you can go to Gov School at the end, YouTube live recordings. And when I click there, I'm going to show us live, hopefully. There we are. We're doing this right now, okay? And then you can bounce down here and see all the more popular ones, and you can find those there. Okay?
My name is Jan.
So okay, stop that. But they're here, and you can see there's probably a good 100 of those there by topic. Okay, easy enough to put in front of you. So thank you all for coming today. And We appreciate your use of our service. You can tell we really like doing what we do. So if you have any questions, just give us a call. It's 800-492-8523, and I'll be glad to help you. Have a great day.